Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole.
Butterfly, what's going on?
Hey, Firefly, how are you?
Good, good. I'm glad that you've recovered from laughing so hard last time. It was awesome, though.
Oh my gosh, that was just like
Well,
uncontrollable.
well, yeah, because 200 million year old animals is kind of hilarious. I
Don't
mean,
get me started again.
I don't want to make you cry again, but that was pretty funny. So I'm so excited to be here talking about a new topic.
I am too.
What are we going to delve into today?
Well, this sounds pretty heavy duty, but I think we could make light of it. I think we're going to talk about the end of civilization.
Happy
Happy
times.
times. Good
End of civil.
times.
Have you ever heard that song that goes hee hee ha ha hee hee ha ha? That one. It's like I can't remember what band it is, or I guess you don't call them bands. It was like a symphony orchestra. But it's like about the end of civilization. It's all
No.
in Italian. And
Oh,
I went and I looked up the lyrics and I was like, oh, this is about like the end of a civilization.
wow.
But it's cool when you go listen to it now. It's one of those famous songs. It's been in a lot of movies.
No,
Fortuna. It's called Fortuna.
hmm.
And
Who's the composer? Do you know?
no, gosh, I'm not
I
at
actually listened
all.
to a lot of classical music when I was a kid.
Really?
I
You
was
would probably know it then.
I was
It's
forced to, but I'm glad I was because it was
it
good.
was cool because it was like I read the lyrics and I was like, this is like about the end of a civilization,
Well, I
which
also
happens
yeah,
sometimes.
I also think about that song by Tears for Fears. It's the end of the world as we know it. Isn't that Tears for Fears?
REM.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No easy mistake to make because Tears for
They
Fears does have a
they
song,
have it. Oh,
Everybody
Mad.
Wants to Rule the World.
Oh,
Is that them?
yeah, and then they also have Mad World.
Mm-hmm.
Mad World.
Easy
That's a
mistake
good
to
one
make.
too.
It
So
was like kind of
those are all
maybe gay lead singer.
apocalyptic.
It
Yeah,
was, I could totally, in the same era.
yeah.
I think they're English though, right? Tears for Fears.
I think so. But why would we want to talk about the end of civilization? Is it possibly because we could be approaching that?
Western civilization might be crumbling.
Well, they say that every civilization lasts about 250 years. Did you know that?
I had heard that. Yeah, I had heard
Yeah,
that. And we're about there.
we're kind of there because, like, it's been about 250 years since.
Like America is a civilization, kind of.
Yeah,
It's, it's like an empire
yeah,
more
right,
now.
right.
It's like an empire. We're like
And
the Roman Empire.
we're like the Roman Empire. And, when the Roman Empire fell, and actually, they say this is what happens at the end of every civilization. The civilization starts to become full of debauchery and just evil stuff and like pedophilia and all kinds of horrible things. And
Sacrificing children and
it's kind of
stuff.
what's happening now in our civilization.
Yeah. Like we
Yeah.
started doing that a while ago. So I think we're due now for the end of our
We're kind
civilization.
of like at the breaking point.
Like were the Mayans like better than us when they like went away? I mean, I know they were like chopping people's heads off and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but we kind of do a lot of abortions,
Yeah.
like a lot.
And I mean, I've heard that some of those creepy cult people are doing some other stuff too, like chopping
Yeah.
kids' heads off and things like that. So it kind of sounds a lot like those other civilizations,
We kind of have
you
like a
know?
lot of sex trafficking and stuff.
A lot of debauchery and like weird, all the like transgenderism, and
Yeah.
people don't really understand how many genders there are. And it's just like very strange behavior.
What I'm thinking is, was it a natural progression or were we kind of destroyed like on purpose?
You know what? This is a really good question because it's like, okay, they say that if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
So it sort of follows that cool because, obviously these people never learned from history. And so their civilization lasted 250 years approximately. And then it just seems to be a pattern that seems to keep repeating. And
Yeah.
that could be the case, or, and we've also talked about like some of these ancient civilizations seem to be way more advanced than what they should have been for how long ago they were, which makes you
Yeah.
wonder, if maybe they were super advanced and had all kinds of modern type technology like we have now, and then that the whole thing just crumbled down
Like the
and fell over,
Egyptians.
like the Egyptians and the pyramids.
And like that big cavern that they found underneath the pyramids just recently.
There's like all kinds of stuff underneath that they're discovering.
And they're
Like,
like, there's also these like, it looked like there was like energy storage pads and stuff.
yeah, like several floors. Like I think it was like 10 floors deep of this whole thing with a contraption that conducts electricity and stuff like that. So um
Yeah, that's
it
weird.
kind of seems that there's been civilizations that happened before us and then just crumbled. And
No, no. They built
no?
that with horse and carriage, and they
Oh,
built
right.
that with very, very rudimentary tools.
Yeah, hauling rocks one at a time up to the top
Yeah, it was
to
like
build this stuff.
250 tons or something, those huge
Yeah,
rocks.
yeah. Well, they had really strong donkeys back then.
And they had lots of slaves.
Yeah,
So they were just using, like, they would just be like, 15 of you guys pick up. It's like, I don't even think if you had 300 people, they could lift one of those
I
rocks.
know.
But that's neither here nor there. I think what we're kind of getting at is, wait, what happened to the Egyptians? They kind of went away.
They just disappeared, and like the Romans just kind of disappeared.
Romans, I mean, but they're still countries, but it's not like they're this prominent civilization anymore.
Yeah. Um,
So I don't know. I'm starting to think that maybe this is now again, I'm a bad person and I'm a conspiracy theorist, but maybe evil people took over our government and hijacked our media
mhm.
and have been sabotaging our values, knowing that it was gonna crumble our civilization, and that maybe we can save it. Maybe we can save it.
I think we can. I
Like,
do.
what if people were able to break out of their conditioning that's causing them to do these destructive behaviors? And they could start to go, wait a second, I don't need to behave like that. That is how I've been conditioned to behave, but I'm finding that that's kind of self destructive and destructive to others. Maybe I can stop. Maybe I can,
You mean
change my behavior.
maybe they can unslave their minds?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I was thinking when we started this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what you're talking about with the end of civilization is not, it's not like, oh, well, that happened to them. That couldn't happen to us.
Yeah.
It could really, and we could be on the precipice of it happening.
It seems we are on the precipice. So, but I don't think we need to fall over the edge and just let it happen.
I think I see people sleepwalking over the edge.
Hmm.
And I know Alex Jones uses that analogy. I'm stealing it. We still have to do an Alex Jones show.
I know we keep putting
But
that out.
anyways, the way that I look at it is the brainwashed masses are sleepwalking over a cliff,
Hmm.
and that's Western civilization.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because some people are kind of like, well, whatever, just let people think whatever they want to think. But it's actually like very dangerous for people to be so ignorant that they don't question some of the things that are going on, because they can just kind of sleepwalk a lot of people right off the edge with them. You know what I
Why
mean?
does why does Ozempic somehow conjure up the end of civilization for me? Ozempic and the end of civilization. Ozempic, the end of civilization.
Interesting.
Well, like you were telling me about that one lady that you know that does Ozempic. Like, I take shots in my stomach because I'm fat. It seems like a little much,
Yeah.
but weren't you saying like she has like no control around food?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that might be kind of like a symptom of the universe. Like that's like Like when people are looking at the the collapse of our current civilization from the future and analyzing what happened, they're like, the people became really fat.
Well, that's kind of what happens. I mean, weren't like the Romans like having like these huge orgies where
I
they
had
were
heard that.
gorging themselves and stuff?
Yeah,
And oh my gosh,
they had a I think it was called the Praetorium or something like that, where they would go and make themselves puke
yeah, so
so
they
that they
could
could
eat
go eat
more.
more.
Well, that's so funny you brought that up because that is kind of like what these people are doing. Like they're putting shots in their stomachs, so basically they can keep the same behavior they've had, but just they don't really have to control it. You know
Well,
what I
it's
mean?
weird because we have this real two-dimensional society where your physical appearance matters a lot, right?
Hmm.
And so they want to still look hot, but want to eat whatever they want.
Right.
Now, there's a disconnect there because most people think, well, if I want to look good, I'm going to have to like control myself around food and probably have a pretty rigorous exercise regimen.
Right.
But they're like, no, 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 no.
I
I
won't do
don't,
any of that.
I'm not going to exercise and I'm not changing any of my behavior. I want to take a shot in my stomach.
Like
And,
once a week or something.
and then I won't ever gain weight and I'll just be thin and I'll just, so,
And you know what's weird though too is like all the people that I've seen that do that and even the commercials for this drug, none of them are actually like thin. They're all still fat, but they're just not quite as fat.
like they
You know
haven't
what I
gotten so fat where like that
mean?
one dude, like he had to go to the hospital and they couldn't get him out the door. So like they had to like remove the roof and then like
Oh God.
a crane
Oh
a
my
crane removed him and his bed, and then they were like, well, he actually became macromeed to the bed because he hadn't left the bed in so long that it like grafted to his butt and his back.
oh my gosh. That's
So
so gross.
I'm wondering if that might be somehow the end of civilization, like when you have people in your society that happens to.
And they're willing to do that.
And there, I think it kind of suggests like that's kind of like the end.
Hmm. Did you ever see that movie Wall-E? It's
Yes,
so perfect.
where they're all fat.
They all go to outer space,
Yes,
to like have they're on this new like space station or whatever because they ruined the first place and they're all fat. Like it shows the captain of the ship like over the years, like the captains kept getting fatter and fatter. They show the pictures and now the
that's
one
right.
now is like so fat he
That's
can't even
right.
walk. He's in like a little motorized cart
Yeah,
because they're so and all the people do is like scoot around on their motorized carts with
they're rascals.
their
And
milkshakes that
that's
they're
another,
drinking.
a rascal is kind of indicative of the end of civilization. If you're too fat to walk around Disneyland, you need to like do some self-reflection.
Yeah. Or
Like
just get a motorized cart and you can sip on your milkshake and your churros in the cart.
just shoot Ozempic and get in your rascal. And I think that's kind of what's going on in our society. That's like a microcosm.
Mhm.
It's like we have really bad behaviors, and all we do is just keep kind of like placating them and just kind of
Well, there's
dealing with them.
there's a pill for that.
There's a pill for that.
And if that creates a problem, there's another pill for that problem. So,
Ozempic is like injecting a blue pill.
yeah,
That's totally a blue pill behavior. It's
totally.
like, I know that I'm obese and I have really bad behavioral patterns, bad habits,
Yeah,
but I'm not going to change those. But I'm going to inject something who I don't really know. Like, weren't you saying that one lady was like doubling over?
in pain. Yeah, yeah. But she didn't question that.
She was like, I'm not going to stop injecting stuff in my stomach, though.
And I listened to like this whole thing. I think it was Dr. Brian Artis was talking about what's in that stuff, and there's like snake venom in there that paralyzes your stomach.
See, I need some of that.
Hmm.
That sounds like a great
I mean,
strategy.
that sounds wonderful. Like you want that in but they don't question it. It's like that lady that you keep mentioning who says, I don't care what was in the infusion.
Not asking what's in the infusion. I'm gonna take the
Yeah.
infusion. Yep. And they're gonna have to put Ozempic in their bodies like that. They're
Mm.
gonna have to say, oh, snake venom? That sounds fine.
That's fine. Yeah. If I can lose 10 pounds, that's great.
But snakes kind of like kill people when they bite them.
They do. And I guess like some people are having like paralyzed stomachs that don't empty out the food for like ever.
See, that sounds lame.
Yeah,
That sounds really
that
lame.
doesn't sound good.
So the reason I bring that up is because the end of civilization is kind of like social suicide.
Mm,
It's like we commit suicide.
mm-hmm.
And
Totally.
I think that's kind of what people are doing. And it's like, I think you get to this point where you're so morbidly depressed that you really can't handle reality. So you're plugged into this media narrative that's a complete distraction from your reality, which is the blue pill,
Mm.
right? And deep down, subconsciously, you know the truth. So what if that truth manifests itself and comes out sideways in like suicidal tendencies? And we have so many people that are brainwashed that we're kind of collectively committing suicide.
Mm,
Maybe I think that might be what's going on.
totally.
Like, for instance,
Yeah.
have you ever talked to somebody about, like, go, you know, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the UN had this plan where they said white people aren't reproducing at the appropriate levels. So what we're going to do is we're going to in Europe and North America, we're going to import like 300 million to 600 million like third world people into your countries. Have you ever talked to somebody and said, I don't think that's a good idea? I don't think that sounds great. And they're just like, you're so xenophobic.
Totally.
Oh my God. And I think the person that says, oh my God, you're so xenophobic might have that suicidal tendency. Like they might be like, I want everything to end. Because have you ever talked to a cult member? They kind of have a nihilistic, almost fatalistic worldview.
It's interesting. Yeah.
You know,
They all hate this country and
hate themselves,
hate themselves. It's
hate
really,
everybody else. It's kind of like, I get it. You know, you're projecting your self hate onto everything and everybody. But, we don't all have to die.
no. And I think the point that we're trying to make is that what you just said is we don't all have to die or we don't have to go along with it. We can
We
change.
don't have to commit social suicide.
Yeah.
And I think the way that you get out of it, it seems like the media wants us to commit social suicide.
Hmm.
You know, it's like
They're
if,
promoting all this debauchery.
yeah, and they want you to go and behave in these destructive ways. Like, for instance, immigration, just being okay with that. Like, you go and talk to somebody, like, oh my God, you're so xenophobic. Like, did you see these girls that lived in Sweden? And they showed a picture of them like, refugees welcome. And it's like, well, wait, didn't rapes go like skyrocketing high in Sweden? And they're just like, oh my God, don't be so racist. It's part of their culture. Like,
Rape is part of their culture.
totally.
Bring it over.
They're just like, whatever. Like, have you ever heard somebody say it's like part of their culture?
Yeah.
It was kind of like when that person was talking to you about the summer of love.
Mhm.
And you're like, well, they're burning stuff down. That's not good. And it's like, they're expressing themselves.
Totally.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like the social suicide gene.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, the media narrative, you got to put the Kool-Aid down. Set the Kool-Aid down
Right.
just for a second and think. You're committing suicide.
Well, yeah, and the thing is like and then when you point it out to some of these people, they get like really mad. Like,
You're so xenophobic.
yeah, for to say, it's horrible that they're burning cities down and then to be offended by that statement
Why
is
are you
really
so racist?
it's like really weird. Like how could you be offended by that statement that it's horrible that they're burning people's
Because
businesses
the
and
media narrative that they are totally guzzling the Kool-Aid is,
yeah.
well, those are black people who've been wronged and they're expressing themselves.
So it's okay they're burning down like these people's businesses and
Like, I don't know, when I express myself, I usually just like talk.
right. Like we're doing now.
Or I might make a sign and show it on a street corner.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah.
But I've never really burned anything. Like, remember that one video where the guy is like hammering the self checkout at Target? And I thought that's kind of a microcosm, you know,
Yeah.
just that image of that guy just like hammering the target down the street from his house. Like,
Yeah.
first of all, you're kind of screwing yourself over for like when next time you need to go in there and buy some silverware or something. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be like, oh, now I got to wait in line longer because I smashed it. So,
Because now there's only two checkouts.
that is kind of like he's got that self-destructive gene.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
But
when
that is interesting though, because a lot of those people are very self-destructive. And I guess when you
I'm
call,
pissed, I'm going to go destroy my neighborhood.
yeah, I guess when you call attention to that, I think what happens is it's like subconsciously, I think they realize like what's happening, but they don't want to admit to it. You know, like that one friend of mine I told you about who got really mad at me when I said it was terrible that they were burning down cities, and this friend was like, I'm
What are you
like,
talking
well,
about?
what are you gonna do? You know, when you need a cop, when you need to call the cops and there won't be anybody, and this friend like totally blocked me on like social media and stuff like I'm gonna like start harassing him or something.
You know
It
why?
was like
Because I think
he was making a point like
that's a really good point.
you're bad that
I
you
just
said
thought of something from that whole scenario that just happened to you, where you're like blocked. You can never talk to me again.
yeah, like
I
he
think
punishing me for
I
making
think
that
the
statement.
media narrative is anybody who disagrees with this is bad.
Yeah,
They use words like racist
yeah,
and xenophobic
totally.
and the patriarchy. You know,
Yeah.
now see if you're a white male, it's really bad when you say stuff like that because you're not allowed to even have an opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because these are oppressed peoples. But see, that's the thing. The media gets people to be like, if you disagree with them, they're mad.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if that's what's going on. Like, you know, like I read in the news today, like the guy had a gun at the CIA. And then you heard about Jamie White, the
Yeah.
InfoWars guy. And now they're sending pizzas to like prominent conservatives and saying, Jamie White. You know what I'm saying? So I'm wondering if violence is the new narrative
Mhm.
in the cult, you
Mhm.
know?
Well, it seems like there's one side that always resorts to violence when they don't get their way or when they want to make a point. It's always violence.
Which makes me
You
think
know, they
we
don't
can,
go stand on a street corner with a sign. They go burn a building down.
yeah, because that's so much more effective.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm thinking in terms of the end of civilization. That's the media saying, go and destroy the civilization. Why do
Yes.
they want us to destroy civilization?
So they're getting the minions and the peasants to actually
Yes.
carry out the plan to
Because
destroy
if we destroy
civilization.
civilization, I think then we have like a feudal system that kind of takes over.
Yeah.
And there's like Mark Zuckerberg who has everything. He's like, no, you can't have any food.
So
You made fun of my hair
all
because I
the
did make fun of it.
his hoodie, all the elite like people that have all their mansions and they've got like their vacation home in Antarctica, you know, whoever, wherever else, they they
In the land masses that are on the UN
all
thing.
those extra like islands out there that
Like,
we
why
don't know
is there
about.
land out there? No, no, no. Those are
That's
reefs.
symbolic.
Those are
That's
reefs
symbolic.
because the UN is peaceful. Wait a second. They're like doing like lots of rapes and stuff in Haiti. But anyways, I digress.
Anyways, so yeah, those people probably would be okay with a lot of like us just being destroyed, and then they can rebuild. Isn't one of their whole little slogans like we want to rebuild
It's
better,
like a reset.
reset,
Reset. Like
rebuild,
when I think about
new
resetting,
world
I'm
order?
thinking like, okay, like let's clean this slate and just
I
start
think
over.
that's kind of what they're talking about
But it's like when you clean the slate, that's like my life and my family.
in my house.
Yeah, that sucks for me. And there's like, well,
That's okay because I already have my 5 houses and my,
there's too many of
yacht.
you.
Mhm.
You need to well, like we've always said, like Ted Turner, you say there's too many people, you know, have the
Go
courage of
ahead,
your convictions,
lead by example.
pour some gasoline on your head and light yourself on fire and film it and show everybody how determined you are. But I think that's kind of what I'm starting to realize is like the media wants us to destroy our civilization. Because civilization, what does that allow? It allows you to like have maybe some upward mobility, some freedom. So you could be maybe even be prosperous. You could start a company and be good.
You can express yourself.
Yeah. You can express yourself. You can say like, I don't know about that.
Mhm.
You know?
You can be creative.
They don't
Did you
like
already
that.
say that? Creative?
No.
Oh,
But see,
they don't like that
they don't
either.
like that either. They don't want that.
They don't want freedom of thought.
Creation might make people think outside the box.
Yeah, it would entail freedom of thought.
Yeah.
I don't think they like that.
You can create if you go and spray paint graffiti on a building.
Or burn it down.
Or burn it down. That's creative.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe what we need to do, and maybe the whole point of this podcast, I think it was interesting that you brought up end of civilization. I don't think our civilization's done yet, but there's a thin veneer.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always say it's a thin veneer.
We could be teetering on the edge.
People are like being nice and kind of acting like everything's just hunky dory, but I think if you were to dig a little bit underneath, people are terrified. And they're watching everything kind of crumble.
That's why they're taking the new blue pill.
Can I have some Ozempic?
A new blue injection.
Like, that's what they want you thinking about. It's like, because that's what they want you thinking about. They don't want you asking questions like this. They want you thinking about, you have a big gut.
We can make it slightly smaller.
And all you got to do...
You just got to do this, and you got to do it for the rest of your life.
It's just a little bit of snake venom. It's going to paralyze your stomach, and then you won't be as fat. Sounds great. That's what they want you thinking about.
Yeah.
They don't want you thinking about, like, am I being, like, led off a cliff? Kind of. You ever seen somebody like come to that conclusion and then just go, oh, no, just keep going.
Just give me what I'm saying?
Yeah, like they'll stop and think for a second, and they'll go, no. You know what it is? It's like really inconvenient.
They don't want to think about that. Yeah, it is inconvenient.
Well, that was an awesome episode. I think that was really interesting.
I think that was really interesting too. And I think like a lot of our other chats that we have, we kind of just touch the surface, and we kind of have to maybe get into a little bit deeper another time.
We could do End of Civilization Part 2, which seems kind of like oxymoronic.
I know.
It's like, is that a contradiction?
Well, we could do, how about the rebirth of civilization?
The Renaissance.
Yeah, that might be a good one.
Awesome seeing you.
Awesome seeing you.
That was great.